My name is Ethan. For the last 15 years, I worked as a night orderly in the county morgue of Greyford. Friends and family thought my job was grim, but I found peace in it. The world of the living is chaos, noise, lies. The world of the dead is order, silence, absolute and deafening. My duties were simple. Receive the client from the ambulance crew, fill out the tag, place the body in the cold storage, then scrub floors, polish steel tables, and make sure everything was in its place until morning. I was the night keeper of this final resting place. I respected the silence and my silent companions. I thought I had seen everything in 15 years, that nothing could frighten me. I was wrong. It all started with him, with Uncle Mike. He was a legend in his own way, an old orderly, grizzled, pragmatic, who treated death as a business. That night, we were alone in the morgue during a storm. Rain lashed at the windows, wind howled through old pipes. Then, around 2 a.m, the lights went out, suddenly, entirely. The backup generator coughed and died. Silence fell. For the first time, I felt real, sticky fear. Not from darkness, but from silence. The low hum from the refrigeration units, the sound that kept the living world separate from the dead, vanished. And in that vacuum, the morgue came alive. Every creak of the old building, every raindrop's tap against the eaves, every rustle seemed intentional, menacing. We sat in our small office with flashlights. Then the internal phone rang. A night detective. They had brought a body from an accident and forgotten to retrieve an important item from the victim's pocket. We needed to go into the cold storage. Uncle Mike sighed and got up. "Come on, student. Work is work," he muttered. We took 2 strong flashlights and walked down the echoing corridors. Our footsteps multiplied in the long, empty halls. The walls seemed soaked with decades of pain and suffering, and now in darkness, they were breathing it back. The cold storage door creaked as we entered. The thick, stagnant chill wrapped around us. Our lights revealed frost-covered walls and rows of motionless figures under white sheets. Without the hum of the refrigerators, it felt wrong, like entering an ancient crypt whose rest could not be disturbed. The body we needed was in the farthest corner. I tried not to look around, shining my light at my feet. Then Uncle Mike gasped and clutched his chest. His flashlight fell and rolled across the concrete floor, extinguished. "Uncle Mike," I aimed my beam at him. He stood there, struggling to breathe, face pale. "I feel bad, Ethan. Heart." He sank to the floor. I tried to hold him up. He was trembling. I knew it was a heart attack. Here, in this icy hell. "Hold on, Uncle Mike. I'll get help," I shouted and ran toward the exit. The door wouldn't budge. I pushed with all my strength. Useless. The old lock, which sometimes jammed, was now shut tight. From the outside, it could be opened with a key, but inside, never. We were trapped. Minutes passed. Uncle Mike's gasps faded. I shone my light on him. Nothing. I was alone. Or rather, not alone. With them. Panic crashed over me like ice water. I staggered between the rows, my flashlight catching waxen faces, twisted limbs, toe tags on big toes. They were silent. They watched me from beneath their sheets, and their silence was deafening. Then my flashlight flickered, once, twice, and went out. Darkness came. No, you do not know true darkness. What you see at night in your room, that is twilight. There is always a strip of light under the door, the reflection of a street lamp, glowing numbers on the clock. but here was absolute primordial ink-black darkness, so dense it felt touchable. It pressed on my eyes, ears, lungs. I reached out, saw nothing, put my hand to my face. Nothing. Sensory deprivation. My mind, deprived of input, began to unravel. At first I froze, too afraid to move. Cold seeped into my bones. I heard only my heartbeat, my blood rushing in my ears. Then, I began to hear something else. It was not a sound. It was a sensation. As if the space around me was filled with quiet, wordless whispers. Many whispers. They were fragments of thoughts, emotions, memories. The fear of the crashed motorcyclist. The grief of a lonely old woman. The emptiness of a drowned man. The surprise of a person whose heart had stopped abruptly. They were here. Their consciousnesses, their selves, clinging to their cooling bodies like last anchors. And the darkness was their environment. In light, they were nothing. But in this absolute black, they had density. I felt them as a blind man feels heat. They were all around me, not malicious, simply lost, curious. I felt a cold, ice-like touch on my cheek. I recoiled, screaming silently. Another on my hand. They were studying me, alive, warm, a source of light and sound in their silent, dark world. But the horror was yet to come. The darkness was not just their domain, it was them, or what they became. It was not presence, it was absence. Imagine the cosmic void before the Big Bang, but this void is not dead. It is conscious, collective, faceless, endlessly ancient and hungry. When a person dies, their consciousness, their memory, a drop of fresh water falling into an endless, saltwater ocean. It does not vanish instantly. It dissolves, slowly, tortuously, losing shape, flavor, essence. I felt this ocean turn its attention toward me, to the bright, warm, living point in its cold silence. I felt its interest, its hunger. It began pulling, not physically. It pulled my mind. My thoughts became viscous. Memories faded, fragments breaking apart. My mother's face, dissolving, losing features. My first kiss. The feeling vanished, leaving only the dry fact. Myself, my identity, everything I was, began dissolving into this faceless, all-consuming dark. This was death, not of the body, but of the soul. Complete, absolute erasure. And part of me wanted it, wanted peace, to cease existing, to dissolve, become part of this great silence. I fought, mentally clinging to myself, repeating my name, names of loved ones, multiplication tables, stupid childhood rhymes, anything to stay afloat, to keep the darkness from consuming me. Crawling across the icy floor, bumping into stretchers and cold, pliant bodies, searching for a wall, for anything solid in this collapsing world. I do not know how long it lasted. Hours, eternity. Then, a click. The fluorescent lights flickered on overhead. The brightness struck my eyes like a hammer. I screamed, truly, covering my face. When I opened my eyes, the morgue was normal again. Rows of bodies. Dead Uncle Mike by the door. Nothing else. No shadows, no whispers. Just a cold, sterile room. The door opened. The detective and on-duty physician stood at the threshold. They found me after the lights came on. I lay in a corner, curled up, mumbling incoherently. Ethan went silent. He stared out the dark train window, but I knew he was seeing something else. He was back there. They treated me in a psychiatric clinic for a long time, he said finally, not turning his head. They called it acute stress reaction, hypoxia, sensory deprivation. My mind had fooled itself. I almost believed it, tried to believe it. I left medicine, moved to another town, tried to live a normal life. He turned to me, and in his faded eyes, I saw such an abyss of horror that my blood froze. But I cannot, because I know it was not a hallucination. I know what is in the dark. It is not evil. It just is. And it waits. It waits for all of us. It is our true home. Silent, faceless, eternal. And the scariest part is not that I saw it. The scariest part is that it saw me. It remembered me. I was inside, almost part of it, but I escaped, and it does not forgive that. When I am in darkness, even for a second, I feel it reaching for me. Not from the corner of the room, from inside, from the darkness behind my closed eyelids. It tries to take what it believes is its own. That is why I never, ever turn off the light. The night train slowed, approaching my station. I stood, legs like jelly. "It's my stop," I muttered. "Go," he nodded. "One piece of advice, son. Do not fear the dark. Just never stay in it alone." I stepped onto the empty, wet platform. The train, carrying him away into the night, vanished around the bend. I walked home under sparse street lamps, and for the first time, I was truly afraid. I moved from one patch of light to the next, and every dark gap between them seemed like a bottomless, hungry abyss. That night I slept with the light on, and the next, and all nights after, because now I know. I know what hides not under the bed or in the closet. It hides in the darkness itself, and it always waits for the last lamp to go out.